Welcome, Sagittarius, to your June Moon Magic deep dive forecast for the ascendant, the sun, or the moon. June has four key lunations, but right at the end of May, we have that powerful Sagittarius full moon in your sign, which provides a backdrop for the first 2 weeks of the new month. I'm going to unpack each of those five lunations, but from a purely Sagittarius perspective. The moon, very much about nurture, protectiveness, security, our feelings, our sensitivity, where we live, how we live, and who with, and our family interactions is at the core of our lives. By the end of the video, you'll have a lunar perspective of what June holds in terms of your energy, work, relationships, or finances. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel, and a very warm welcome. If you've yet to subscribe to my channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive, but please also click or tap the bell notification symbol. So as we came into the new month, Sagittarius, on the screen is the full moon in your sign. But the moon in the first house is very much about what we need as individuals. Because the moon in Sagittarius itself can be very much to do with speaking our truth, needing personal space, but also emotional space. As you come into this month, it could see you pushing back a little bit about the expectations that others may have. It may be around relationships, doesn't have to be terminal. You just may want to do your own thing a bit more. But there's a challenge that goes beyond the sun's opposition and Uranus's broader opposition to the moon, and it comes in the guise of Mars. Mars is very much about taking action, being bold, being assertive. But in the sixth house, some of those energies are just dampened down a little bit. It's much more about doing what we need to do for others, attending to our responsibilities and obligations. It can be good for your physical energy, for sure, but it is in a quincunx, or was, with the position of the moon. So you could feel a bit conflicted as you come into the new month, perhaps uh, about doing those exercise routines that you know are calling out to you, or it may be catching up on some domestic chores, or it could be wanting a bit more personal space away from a relationship that may be okay, or it could be to completely break away if you're really not enjoying it. So those are the energies broadly in the back of your situation for the first 2 weeks. But just to say, Saturn, the planet of limitation, in the fifth house of your chart, which can be about joyfulness, is squaring off with Venus in your eighth house. Now, that eighth house really comes to life for you this month. And the eighth house can be about long-term finances, shared resources, can be about intimacy, but right at the start of this month, and it could be feeding into that Uranian narrative of freedom around a relationship. There could be a pinch point if you're not enjoying it. Will it be terminal? Possibly, but not automatically. That takes us through to the quarter moon of the 8th. This is in the feeling sign of Pisces. The moon here is heightened in its sensitivity. For you, also, it's in the fourth house, which is an echo of that Cancerian energy the moon rules. But the square with the sun suggests that even if you try to lean into certain situations to understand how someone is feeling, it might not quite have the impact that you would hope. You may also find yourself caught between two people that you're very fond of who are not getting on very well and want you in some ways to be the adjudicator. If, however, you are footloose and fancy free and someone is coming up on your cosmic radar, that combination between Venus and Jupiter, which peaks on the ninth, could be truly fortunate. It can also be very positive for you in terms of your financial situation. But that quarter moon is a juggle, really. The moon in the fourth house is where the first house energy of the Sagittarius moon is much more to do with how you see things from your unique perspective. The fourth house may be to do with where to live, but also people around you. So It may be not necessarily around a relationship as such, more about the dynamics within your family that may just need a little care. But if we fast forwards to the middle of the month, we have a sparkling new moon in your sector of relating. The moon and the sun together are sharing their resources in a positive way. Now, it just so happens in a technical sense, the moon in Gemini is not at its best because it's an air sign, but a seventh house position for the moon can be very diplomatic. It has a desire for harmony. And also, it's a new moon, which is blessed by a semi-sextile with Mars and also with one to Jupiter, your ruler. So if there is someone that you're attracted to, or you're working with in a collaborative way where you're both industrious, Mars in the sixth house, and make sacrifices. You can both lean into each other's needs. It could have a big upside financially. So it depends on what's exactly going on in your situation. But there is an alliance developing through your work or a business. That's looking very positive indeed. However, in a romantic context, this is really asking you to be very attuned to how the other person feels. And in fact, Venus, the relator, has moved into the truth-seeking part of your scope, which I think can be very, very positive for you. Could also mean there is someone you're attracted to. It may be a person at a distance, or if you get a chance to do something different with a current partner, Venus is linked back to Uranus on that seventh house cusp. Really could be very exciting if you can be much more spontaneous. So I think it is a great chance to reset around some of the relationship dynamics that may have been challenging on the back of that Sagittarius blue moon and the quarter moon. Essentially, seventh house energy, the trick of it in a good way is understanding what we're prepared to do, but also what we're prepared not to do, but being clear about it and finding someone else who coalesces in their own needs in the same ways. It's about give and take. That brings us to the Libra quarter moon of the 21st. Now, the sun for you dives deep on that day. We had the summer solstice in terms of Western tropical astrology. I appreciate in terms of the science, it's also the winter solstice down south. But that's where the sun ushers in the second cardinal quadrant of the year. And over the following 13 weeks, producing an improvement around your financial resources or long-term security is entirely possible. The sun also links back to Chiron, which moved on the 19th into your sector of healing. That's delicious as well, but it does clash with the moon. If there is a friendship, a group activity, uh, some kind of network where you feel there are some heavy politics, there could be part of you that actually wants to break a little bit free. But equally, it may be that you could connect to someone who's a friend and actually overcome those things and get much closer. So it doesn't go in only one direction, but it is a moon that's in an opposition with Neptune. So if you're confused about a romantic relationship and not sure whether to go to that next level of commitment, it is probably best to just think. However, in a very dynamic way, if you're wanting to work very hard and be productive, Mars is in a tremendous link with Mercury and Jupiter. Your finances really can improve through week 3 of this month. It really is encouraging. That brings us to the 29th. We have a Capricorn full moon. The moon in Capricorn struggles. It's in its detriment because Capricorn is very much about the physical world. The moon's much more about the emotional world. But that doesn't mean to say you can't make it work for you. Again, that eighth house energy of longer term finances, which really is flourishing towards the end of this month, it could just get a bit of a reality check because that's what Capricorn's very much about. However, on the same day, you can see that Mercury starts its second retrograde of the year in Cancer. So, if you are talking about a contractual matter, who does or contributes what, precision is really important. But if you recall, at the very start of June, Venus and Saturn were in a bruising right angle, which may have tested even the best of relationships. Ironically, at the end of the month, while they're really honky dory. So, if there is someone you feel at ease with, the commitment's strong, and you feel that there's a stability around it, that full moon and also Mercury retrograde are not going to affect that. But just to say, on the 28th of the month, Mars did move into your opposite sign. And through the last few days of June is in a crunching conjunction with Uranus. Now, if you are footloose and fancy free, don't be surprised if you have a really full on crush on someone and it may move at the speed of light. Will it be anything more than a fleeting fling? Who knows? But it could be very hard to ignore the person whose chemistry is so powerful right as this month draws to a close, which of course also sees your ruler Jupiter move into that ninth house, which has an echo of your sign and also joins with Venus. Now, you only get one day of it this month for sure, but it is linking back fantastically well to Mars. And I can say with some assurance that if you're not in a relationship by the end of this month, but you'd like to be, the next year could really be exciting and you could have some very dynamic connections that will make your pulse race. I'm going to summarize generally what's going on this month. So we begin this month with really trying to get a balance between what you want as an individual and your connections to others, either at work or in relationships. However, as the month goes on, it does require a little bit of delicacy, but also we do have a lot of potential for deeper commitment. Now, that will be challenged for sure by that full moon at the end of the month, but because of the new moon at the heart of the month is so positive, if you are wanting to reset or meet someone new or collaborate with someone over a hobby or at work, the prospects look very strong. So I'll summarize those four areas of energy, work, relationships, and finances next, Sagittarius. But just to say, I've reduced the price of my personal horoscopes. For many years, it was buy two, get 30% off. Because of the cost of living increases, it's now buy one, get three. The one you pay for is your life roadmap report, which helps us to understand the patterns that play on our lives, get a more intimate understanding of them. And free, your 12 months transit forecast, but also your draconic soul karmic analysis, which helps us to think about astrology, life, and ourselves in a very different, profound way. Please see below for more. If you've yet to watch your June monthly forecast, it's on the screen. Your Mars in Taurus 6-week forecast on the screen. If you'd like to work with me one-to-one, please check out my testimonials below. If you've yet to sign up for your free daily written horoscope, fired to your device each morning, please see below. Get your early day celestial pit stop. So to summarize, as far as energy is concerned, let's just go back to the very beginning of the month. Remember, Mars is in your sixth house. That can increase your stamina. As long as there's not big politics going on around the relationship, I think your energy can be really strong this month. However, it is true to say that Uranus on that seventh house cusp is interacting with the nodal axis all month. So if it isn't going quite so well on a relationship, I think that could be something that will drain you. As far as your professional situation is concerned, Mars in the sixth house can make you incredibly industrious, but it's linked to the position of Jupiter in week three, which really gives you a chance to make a mark. And if you are able to collaborate with people, that's something that people really will notice. So do be mindful of that. When it comes to your financial situation for this month, I think it's true to say that the collective in the eighth house could prove to be amazingly good. It just depends on how proactive you can be to make that happen. But that looks really encouraging. As far as romantic relationships are concerned, it's really quite pivoted between all in or all out. But if you aren't single, don't be surprised if there's lots of electric conversations going on. If you do use online dating, it's going to be a busy time. But what you're really yearning for is something that's much more at a soul level. If you're in a relationship which has its moments but is, pretty good, it just may mean in the first 2 weeks you need a bit more time to yourself and maybe your partner to do a bit more around the domestic chores. It's been a real pleasure being with you, Sagittarius. Have a great June. Look forward to seeing you again soon.